Today's Monday, July 28th, and I almost didn't record this daily check-in. I was already kind of mentally checked out. I thought it was late. I didn't really have any specific insights that came across my mind today. And when I reminded myself, okay, I want to do this every day, I want to stay consistent, I then almost did what I would have done in the past, which is I took out my phone. I was upstairs in my room where the light is pretty bad, the acoustics are not that great, and took out my phone and I was about to just prop it down, just record whatever, and basically check it off, because then I can say, okay, I did it, I stayed consistent. And then I remembered a quote which I've heard a while ago, which is that if something is worth doing, it is worth doing well. And I would say that I've never really followed that principle very well. I've never really embodied that. And I think in the recent months, at least, if not even the last year, I've started to move toward that ideal that I want to embody. I want to embody the ideal of doing things well and of having a certain amount of seriousness and, let's say, respect for the things you do. Because if you do something half-assed, then you don't respect yourself, you don't respect the work you're doing, you don't respect the people that are involved. And I do like the idea of making it kind of black and white. Either you do something and you do it with everything you got, or you don't do it at all. But I've half-assed a lot of things in the past, and as I've now started being more serious about what I'm doing in general, this doesn't just apply to now wanting to build a personal brand. It doesn't just apply to business, to fitness, to health, to eating, to relationships. This is a principle that I want to follow more, and I've started to move more in that direction. And I've noticed that as soon as I started being more serious about either doing something or not doing it at all, but if I was doing it well, not half-assing, not quickly getting something done, but treating work in general with a certain amount of respect. And the reason I think this is so important, and the reason I've now started to see way more progress overall in terms of making progress toward my goals in the last 6 months especially, is because I believe I've now started to do things properly. And there is a very big difference. And I do think it doesn't really matter what the thing is that you're doing, even if you're just like, if you're cleaning your kitchen, right? If you cook and you clean your kitchen, if you do it well, it might take like 20% longer or 10% longer. But the difference is big, and I think it changes how you behave in general. If you do everything like decently well, but you don't go all the way, I think it shows in people. And I do think if you look at high performers, if you look at people who are incredible at what they do, they tend to be very meticulous, and they tend to be very focused on treating every single touch point with the full seriousness that it deserves. And I do think this is why they win, and I am now trying to emulate that, because you get, and this is a separate topic that I actually want to make a video about, I do think that the extra 20%, or you could even say the final 20%, will be very difficult, and you will not want to do them most of the time, but those are what would give you the world. I do think being exceptional, and this is my theory, I am trying to become exceptional, just to be clear, but my theory of what it takes to become exceptional is that you go from the 80% to the 100%, or at least closer to that. And I don't think it's as big of a jump, but it's those final 20% that people usually don't do. And an example for that is, which probably most people can relate, this is kind of a business context, but let's say you are drafting some sort of document, proposal, something for someone else. It can even be in the context of university, you're writing a paper, or in school, some sort of homework, some sort of assignment. Whatever it is that you're creating, typically people, and there are different types, of course. Some people are very meticulous, but typically, and I was certainly in that camp, I wouldn't like read through it properly one more time and correct it. I would get it done, and I would be so happy that it's done, and I would be like, look over it briefly, maybe look for some mistakes, and then ship it. Now I see a lot with the work I'm doing. When you create a document for a client, for example, if you're creating a proposal, I have this not, it's not a desire, but I have this tendency to want to like get it done. I want to ship it, I want to have it off my plate, and I think it is good enough. But I have the theory that the final 20% of letting it sit, revisiting it later, and seriously looking at it again and trying to push it toward excellence, I think that is what it takes. Same with fitness, for example. I would say the last 20% of your sets and your reps and your effort is what gives you a disproportionate amount of your progress, right? If you do your sets and you always stop at 80% kind of load and 80% strain, and I forgot what the word is, like basically you go 80% of your capacity but not to 100% or 90, 95%, you will probably get way fewer results than if you just did those extra 20%. So there's a disproportionate balance there, I think, or a disbalance in that sense, right? So you have to do the 80% of the work anyway, and doing those extra 20% will give you way more than 20% extra. So I do think it makes sense from a logical standpoint, and I also think that it's the right way to go through life, to either do things properly or to not do them at all. Even if you have a shit job, even if you have to do something that you really don't want to do, like let's say, for whatever reason you need to like help someone out, and you need to clean like a room or help someone move or whatever it is, like some work that is not typical for you. And it's not work that you're getting paid for, it's not something important in that sense. But I think how you treat that work says a lot about you, and it will probably reflect your results in other areas. So if you treat it as it's not important and it's not something directly related to my goals or directly related to me getting paid, so I'm not going to put effort into it, I think that will probably show in most areas. But if you say, I'm going to do this thing, and out of respect, I will do it as good as I can, then you will be like that in general, most likely. And also, which might be even more important, is that it makes it far more enjoyable. And I can't believe that I forgot to make this point up until now, but I do think that is kind of the main benefit. I noticed that when I started doing things with all of my effort, when I started to do things properly, I noticed that they became way more enjoyable. And I am now having way more fun doing anything when I do those things like properly and seriously. And I think an example, let's say you have to work at McDonald's. If you, for a month, for this example, if you have to go there for a month, one mindset could be that you say, okay, it's just for a month, it doesn't really matter, so I will just do the bare minimum and try to get by. The second option is that you say, in this month, I will do everything I can to do the best possible work I can. I will be proactive, I will have a high agency, I will look for ways to improve the workspace, help people out, like improve my skills. When I'm done, I will help other people, I will take on more work. And I'm very sure that if you do this, then this month will be, when you look back, very enjoyable and very fun, and you will have learned a lot. And I think if people do it in the real world, like if I had to work at McDonald's now as a entry, I don't know what the typical starting position would be, but let's say I was starting there. I think I would just, honestly, I think it would take maybe 2-3 months, and you would have a way better position there. Because if you just show that your talent is wasted by having a low level occupation, low level position, you will be promoted before you can even blink, I think. This is just a theory, but if I think back, if I am hiring someone, if I was to decide based on the kind of qualities of that person, if this person is someone who is doing things well, treating things that might not seem serious with seriousness, I think I would be much more likely to hire that person and to want to promote them if they go above and beyond and don't think they're above certain types of work. But anyway, I think this is turning into a yap that is a bit too long. So yeah, I just wanted to share this thought because I do think it's very interesting, and I will think about it more, because I do think this has explained why I've enjoyed this journey so much more in the last couple of months, and why I've made way more progress than ever before. So